What's something that people turn into their whole personality? Some of us, yes. But there's a lot of us that just love cars in general. They are absolutely fascinating machines. Plus doing your own car work can be so incredibly satisfying and fun. There's a lot of douchebags out there that buy an old Audi or BMW, or the Wrangler crowd that think they drive an $80,000 Baja rig, and slap a loud as fuck exhaust on it and some shitty RGB LEDs on the bottom and act like they're hot shit. For every one of them, there's 2-3 wannabe mechanics like me that will be happy as a pig in mud to just look at cars and tinker with them and talk about them. Cars, trucks, boats, tractors, and anything else with an engine are most of my personality because they bring me genuine joy. I was like that as a teen. You don't listen to heavy metal. Why not? I enjoy listening to heavy metal, therefore I am somehow cooler and better than you. Now I liken it to going to a buffet and only eating chicken breast. You're not impressing anyone, dipshit. You're just missing out on a ton of other cool flavors and textures. Jim, no, how is this not a pyramid scheme? Michael, alright, let me explain. Again, Phil has recruited me and another guy. Now, we are getting 3 people each. The more people that get involved, the more who are investing, the more money we're all going to make. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's not even a scheme per se. Jim draws a triangle around Michael's diagram. I have to go make a call. I hate that I have to agree to this, but yes, I have this friend, well, former best friend, who loves sharing all these zodiac posts on Facebook. He shares them without any thought as long as his zodiac sign is mentioned. I find it amusing though because some of the posts he shares are totally opposite from him or something he doesn't even like at all. This is my fav. I had several people into it and one they would talk about a girl they liked but she's a Virgo and the others are, oh yeah, I have to be careful, you know how they can be. I'd comment, I don't know what that means. So a friend would address the group and say, it's because she's an Aquarius like that somehow, and answer why I don't give a shit about their zodiac. I went to someone's house once who was obsessed with Disney. I wasn't warned of how obsessed they were and literally had to stop in the middle of the room because I was gaping at the sheer volume of Disney stuff they had. Every inch of the walls and surfaces was covered in Disney paraphernalia. The sad, weird thing was that these were extremely wealthy people, so they had things like original Disney cells from the 3040s and actual valuable objects just crammed next to some tacky plastic plates. I like going to Disney World. Usually go for a week every 2 or 3 years, and I've gotten really good at planning the trips to the point friends have asked my advice to help plan for them as it's cheaper than a travel agent. I know a ton of trivia and history for the Disney parks as I think it's such a unique piece of Americana. Naturally I used to think the people complaining about Disney files were hating on people like me, but then I became more and more aware of the dregs who take it too far. People who don't vacation anywhere not owned by Disney. People who recite the entire Ghost host speech in the stretching room ruining it for everyone else. People who listen to non-stop Disney podcasts and watch non-stop vlogs. People who have unsolicited opinions on the lives of the Tracker family. People who get legitimately mad about any changes to the parks. People who collect all the limited time merch while bitching about the fact that it exists. People who try to out-skipper the skipper on Jungle Cruise. People who try to find the next big Disney parks meme or try and force an old one. No, they don't fall down if you yell Andy's coming, but please keep yelling it every 30 seconds while other families are just trying to get a picture. You are in a theme park. Everyone is just trying to have a nice vacation. Just take it down like 3 notches, my dudes. I have never seen as much salt produced so quickly as when Disney suspended things for annual pass holders during COVID. I have a few friends who go to Disney obsessively and they were fucking pissed they couldn't go to Disney and that Disney dare make changes to the program in the midst of a pandemic, whereas the couple of cast members I know were damn near bordering on suicide because of Disney playing layoff roulette with them. This is my brother-in-law and his wife. They're both NCOs in the Air Force and take multiple Disney World vacations every year, not to mention the Disney cruises they also go on. They only watch Disney Plus at home, and only listen to Radio Disney in their car. They have Disney paintings as artwork on their walls in the living room. It's unnerving. Eons ago, a kid in my HS got jumped for making a very well-loved teacher cry. Both her dogs died after being accidentally poisoned. Kid brought in onions the next day and made some joke about how everyone should know they aren't dog food, especially when their partner is also a single-issue identity person. Army wives is one. Or a girl that dates a guy in a band sometimes, or that guy whose girlfriend plays games, but that's like all she does. One hilarious instance is this girl whose boyfriend was in our equivalent of the reserves. She's convinced he is this badass who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan and all over the world. Guy was like 8 to 10 years old when Iraq happened, and younger again when Afghanistan happened. Not only that, but we're a neutral country. We don't have soldiers all over in hot spots. They have been engaged for like 6-8 years, but he doesn't make as much money as a mall security guard as he pretends he does as a military contractor, so he spends all his money appearing to have money then saving for the future. He also has to keep her at arm's length because he isn't very smart and his lies aren't very good, so he's kind of stringing her along in limbo. Meanwhile, she is rubbing how badass he is in everyone's face. I actually told him to tell her, and tried to tell her, because I thought it was all unusually cruel. As you can imagine, it didn't go well. Tried to do the right thing, caught shit for it. Now I get to laugh guilt-free as they both fucked their lives up. She's like 30 now, and never had a job, because she is sure he's gonna pay her way. Herbalife. Having to literally explain to people that it's an MLM is so frustrating. They prey on small towns, create nutrition shops that sell $9 shakes when it's literally just Herbalife and is helping the owner barely break even. Happened in my small town. Then out of nowhere 3 other branches popped up in the revolving small towns, which basically means the owner can't 3 more into joining so that they can get their profit. There's a documentary out there called like 1 in a Million or something that breaks down the pyramid and how little people at the bottom are actually making. They also show that the shakes are nothing more than liquid laxative, so of course you're losing weight. Also, keto. I give the keto people a pass. At first, it's such a radically different way of eating that within the first 3 months, it's literally on your mind non-stop. If you're old enough to remember the Atkins craze from 2004 to 2006, it's basically the same thing ... except instead of going through induction for 2 weeks, these ketoers are committing to it for the long term. I started trading on Robinhood here and there a few years ago just for fun. Eventually a few friends started to as well, and for a few months I started to understand what it was like to be into sports. Like we had our favorites and could brag on wins over drinks. It was pretty fun. But then they started to get really involved and I'm still more casual. Now these conversations are starting to get tedious. Skeptical. Some fans are kinda scary. Their whole life becomes dedication to a celebrities, and it's not just their personality, they make everything around them about that person. Posters, music, merchandise, were things bought on the internet, supposedly with relation to the subject of their obsession, and so on. I can't imagine being close to somebody before and after their transition into that life. It seems like it'd be scary. I find it extremely uneasy to see how many people don't know how to maintain a work-life balance. I have a full life outside of work and I value my personal time. I have hobbies and a family. My theory is a majority of those people don't have enough going on outside of work and they feel as though they need to prove their work ethic by working late and on weekends. It's not worth it. Enjoy life. Have fun. Religion. I am a Christian, but there are so many other religious people who think that it is 100% okay to impede on the personal lives of other people, and then resort to saying, "You're going to hell for thinking that way / for doing this." Let people live the way they want to without you breathing down their throats, please. This was my ex and it was exhausting. Everything we did had to do with being queer, the way we decorated, the way we talked, the places we went. It was all about being queer. Holding hands in public was a big thing cause we're both girls. It's one thing to be proud of who you are. It's another to make it your whole goddamn personality. This 1,000,000%. I remember seeing a documentary which had a woman with severe OCD. She was basically housebound. She couldn't leave the stove until she checked it X amount of times, and the lights, and then things would have to be cleaned in a certain way, with a certain material or product, and any contamination, even the lightest of touches from an unclean source, meant the whole process started again. For some people it's a horrible, debilitating issue. It's not making sure the label on your ketchup bottle is facing out. I haven't seen this one yet, but gaming don't come for me. I'm not talking about everyone that games. I'm talking about the people watching obnoxious gaming YouTubers and turning their personality into them. The bers are acting that way to get money and get an audience, in front of a camera not all the time. I enjoy watching gaming videos, Dream, Sapnap, Wilbursuit, and I think they're nice. But some are just so obnoxious I can't stand them. I won't name them, but I think we all know what I'm referring to. Sorry this is long. Thanks for listening to me rant. Smile. Significant other of, insert service occupation here, Army wives and police wives specifically. My coworker's husband is a reserve deputy, which means he volunteers and patrols the basketball games in a town of less than 1,000 people. She legitimately mentions him being a reserve deputy 3 times a week in conversation. Lol. She bought him a thin blue line wedding band. She is sure that at jury duty selection, she wasn't chosen because they recognized her as being Ty's wife. Mal. She supports Derek Chauvin. The list goes on. I've met many people whose entire personality is their race and or heritage. I mean you do you, but after a while it's like okay, but is that it? Is that really all you talk about? I get pride in where your ancestors come from, but after a while it gets old when that's all there is. This is especially true if they try to demonize other races, heritages, but act like theirs is perfect. Honestly, it's almost exclusively new vegans. They are proselytizing because they have become aware of a really fucked up system, and they want everybody to know. It's a bit like born-again Christians, although I would argue very different for important reasons. There's also this kind of mania related to feeling morally superior, and wanting to find community. I think in most cases it passes pretty quickly. I'm 10 years deep and I'm almost never the person who actually brings it up. Other than when I'm asked if I want something or whatever at a restaurant, it's usually other people who then begin asking questions, or in some cases having a go and trying to turn it into a joke. I'm in a trivia group, and one of the members' girlfriend is obsessed with their French bulldog, and only talks about their French bulldog in our trivia group chat. And we've all agreed that we hate this designer dog abomination that isn't even trained well. She bought herself a Mother's Day card and signed it from the dog, and it genuinely makes me pinch the bridge of my nose in disappointment when I remember she shared that. Just being honest here, but a lot from the LGBTQ+ community. To be clear, I have nothing against people in that group. As far as I'm concerned, 2 consenting adults can do whatever they want, but a lot of people make their sexuality, life choices etc. front and center, when really most people don't really care if they are gay etc. or not. Edit. My original comment was saying, I've seen a lot of younger people in the LGBTQ community make their sexuality their personality. This does not mean I am against those people, how they live their lives, who they fuck, or anyone else in the general population. I'm amazed how people have grabbed their torches and pitchforks at such a small comment of past observation. A lot of people do not give a shit what your sexual preferences are. Of course circumstances differ, but most people aren't against you. I hate it when not being homophobic, but actually being homophobic. becomes a major part of a person's personality, as if it's something they need to make clear to anyone and everyone at all times, especially during June. All of a sudden my kid has a ton of friends in June. My daughter and her best friend, male, are gay. They have their own group of friends who are in the LGBTQ+ community and I love it. They're a great group of kids who have a great sense of humor and are the most kind and compassionate people I've ever met. Their sexuality only is a small portion of their personalities. The amount of straight people, mostly young women, who never said more than 2 words to them throughout the year but called them their gay besties really pissed me off. It was like a badge of honor in high school to have a gay bestie. My daughter often joked about being the token queer. It broke my heart. But it is always pretty fucking funny when my daughter or her friends tell those people that something is gay and watch the reaction. They just did this to the worst offender. The girl made a group chat with them trying to get glasses and asking everyone their opinion on things, especially the gay males because of the old trope that gay men are better at fashion. She picked a certain pair, really liked them, and my daughter said those are lesbian glasses, definitely. And the girl immediately put them back on the shelf even after my daughter told her she was joking. They looked really cute, and no one would think she was a lesbian over a pair of glasses. Being sick/sickly. I've always had very poor health, and in high school and early college, as my conditions worsened, I didn't like that I couldn't live a normal life. So I kind of leaned into it. Always joked about how sickly I was while secretly hating myself for not being able to keep up with my peers. Some maturing and some guidance from my mother has helped me to learn that, yes, poor health sucks, and yes, I can't always do the things that healthy people can, but that doesn't have to control my identity. Doing far better now, learning what my true limits are and how to work with them. Autism. Hear me out. I have a father who had autism, deceased now, and a child who is autistic. My dad you would never know, my child you most definitely would. So this is not a slap at autistic people. My friend was diagnosed on the spectrum at 32, it's now became her entire life. I get she's different though, I swear I would have never guessed she was on the spectrum at all. She talks about it constantly. She feels like she's a spokesperson for all autistic people. My child doesn't speak, and is handicapped and needs constant care. This isn't some cool niche personality trait for some autistics, it's a disability that they struggle with. I get she's now deemed different, but it's not always. It's my autism again. Isn't it so funny lol kinda BS. Liking Harry Potter. I was obsessed throughout childhood and up until college. I still love the books but I no longer need to advertise that to people, especially now. They will always be meaningful to me, but I no longer keep up with new developments in the fandom. Anytime anything Harry Potter related goes viral, I still get it sent to me dozens of times from family and friends. Money. Entirely. Those with it seem to think they are better than those without money. My rich family members sneer at me as I'm unable to work, not knowing my cancer is back, thinking I made up the fact that I haven't been able to walk hardly for over a month. I'm waiting on disability at 23 years old, and I have worked my ass off my entire life. But they seem to think money is more important than being there for the ones you love. Not that they would or are helping financially, but I learned a lot growing up that money seemed to be more important than love even. Having anxiety. I'd if a lot of PPL do this but I've known 2 people who did it. Oh boy were they wonderful to be around. They acted like they were all quirky and special for having anxiety and used anxiety to shame other people for their problems. Oh, cat died yesterday? Well, toughen up buttercup. I had to make a presentation one time and oh my gosh it was so embarrassing I wanted to cry. PLS I'm so relatable. Like I get that they 100% could have felt like that and I feel sorry for them, but if I try to open up to you about something and your response is no, I have it worse, you're honestly kind of shit. Plus if you pointed out anything flawed with them, like if they kept singing an annoying song all the time, and you very politely asked them to stop, they would go completely ballistic on you and cry about how you hate people with anxiety.